Welcome to Growin It. I'm here today with Brian and Jessica Strutz of A Dopo, and we're here to tell their business story. I'm sure you guys get this question all the time, but what does A Dopo mean?
Yeah, dopo is a phrase that we heard all the time, every day when we were in Italy, and it's a phrase you say to your friends, and it means see you later. And so it's reflecting a lot of things, the Neapolitan, the Italian heritage and the style of food. It's also hopefully reflecting a friendly atmosphere and especially a place you'll want to return to.
Yeah.
And we'll see you later.
Yeah, more importantly, it's not goodbye. It's I'm going to see you later tonight, most likely.
Oh, cool.
So we're a dinner-only restaurant, and that was sort of the shtick, was that people would meet each other later here. You know.
So a question to both of you is, what was your first job working in a kitchen?
Yeah, we both worked at this restaurant that was in Farragut near our schools called Kalamata Kitchen, and I was working as a host. Brian came in to get hired for his first job, and I trained him on his first day work as a host, and then he worked in the kitchen every day after that.
Yeah, so ironically, we both had the same first job, and it was in the restaurant.
You didn't know each other before?
No, we didn't, but I had, a crush on her after working there for, a little while. So.
And so how long, when did marriage come after that? Was that a while after, or?
Yes, it was a long while after.
9 years later.
Okay.
Yeah, 9 years. We didn't date while we worked together. I was 16, she was 17, so it wasn't for a few years and into college when we started dating.
Okay. And Brian, you mentioned that even from high school, owning some type of restaurant was your dream.
Yeah, we had a career day in high school, and you dressed up as the career you wanted, and I wore chef whites, chef hat at the time, because I wanted to own my own restaurant one day. So,
after college, what were you both doing?
Well, I just finished my master's degree in music education. I was working as a singer and teaching voice lessons, and then we got married and went out of the country shortly after that. So a couple odd jobs.
Okay.
After we got back from Italy, then I started teaching.
Were you doing food stuff?
Yeah. So after college, I had a degree in marketing. I started working in television, actually, reality TV and post-production. And she continued at school to get her master's. So when she graduated was about the time we got married, and then eventually left to go to Italy on one-way tickets. So we made a big transition abroad.
And that's what you're talking. So you lived there for how long?
6 months.
6 months. You bounced around. But you went to work in some sort of food co-op or something, right?
Yeah, working on some farms in exchange for room and board, and ate a lot of good food.
Yeah, so there's an organization called WOOF, which is Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farming. So that we did that at several different farms, where you get connected with a farmer who needs help, and they put you up for room and board, and they feed you, and you work as a day laborer, really. So we worked on a few different farms all over: a kiwi farm, olive groves, vineyards, a pig farm, and traveled in between. So.
How did the time that you were in Italy further or contribute to the dream of doing some sort of restaurant?
Yeah, well, so both of us separately, independent of each other, studied abroad in Italy while we were in college. Studied the Italian language in different summer programs, and she also studied opera. So we had a desire to do something Italian already, and then going there together as a married couple just, I think, really cemented our interests in the Italian culture and way of life, specifically food.
We're planning it.
We're planning it.
It wasn't in our head yet.
So the evolution keeps going, and you guys get back, and you started working at Blackberry. Is that right?
Yeah. So we moved home after about 6 months, and then I got a job as a cook at Blackberry Farm, which was, to me, like a culinary school. So I had not been to culinary school, and immediately got to work with the best ingredients in the world, with the best chefs in the world, and I was in way over my head.
So yeah, was your resume like just back from Italy, worked on all these, worked on all these organic places?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really have a food resume. I cooked in high school. I was a server in college, and I cooked for her at home. But I think I got the job because I just talked my way into it. So
You wanted it.
And he did a stage there, and they hired him shortly after that.
Yeah, well, fine dining restaurants often make you do what they call a stage or a working interview to see what it would look like in the environment with you. So it's smart, but it gave them a chance to see if I could handle the pressure.
Right. Well, neat. So then, again, continuing on, so you Blackberry, and then you were teaching
Yep.
at
Carter High School.
Okay, doing music.
Yep. Choir, musical theater, drama, history, rock and roll.
And then you got out of food for a while, right after that.
Yeah, I got out of food and into personal finance. So insurance.
Insurance. That was
Actually,
insurance.
Yeah.
Guys,
Insurance and investments. I did that for a few years, and then got into catering after that. So yeah, while she continued teaching, I worked as a part-time caterer and
like
part-time.
moonlighting, so like doing daytime.
I moonlighted as a caterer, and that got pretty busy over the course of a year. I got a lot of gigs that went well, and in the back of my mind, it was, well, is it time to do this restaurant thing, and could we do it? And so from that, after about a year of catering, I loosely put together a plan to open a restaurant, and I knew I wanted to do something with pizza or with bread, specifically sourdough bread. And when I landed on pizza, it all made so much sense because that first job that we both worked at, I was working in the wood-fired oven there, and I used to make her snacks from the oven. So it just seemed kind of poetic almost.
Yeah.
But the metrics are really good for pizza. It's the largest sector of the restaurant industry. The margins are good. I did know after working with money for a little while that the restaurant had to be feasible. I didn't want to just open another seasonal, food-forward, farm-to-table restaurant, which are great. I just didn't want a broad focus.
Right.
I wanted something that could be very clear and profitable, so we were limiting our risk.
Yeah, and you were on board at this point.
Yeah.
He'd gotten experience and laid out the kind of the business plan, and
He'd had lots of casual ideas over the years, and then he really did a lot of research, and it felt like he was really well thought out and something he was finally excited about actually being a reality. So it was easy to be on board because he'd put on all the work ahead of time. It was exciting.
So, Brian, I want you to talk a little bit about, because so many people want to start a business, but once it came from paper to reality, what all did that take? What kind of sacrifices? How much were you working to get this place open? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, that's sort of the million-dollar question of if you're going to open a business. Well, first of all, I built a business plan, and then from that, I found a restaurant that's doing something similar to what we do. They had a similar oven. They were working with a naturally leavened dough. It was very Italian focused. And I contacted the owner and asked if I could come work out there for free, or a stage, if you will. And so he accepted that. And I went out and worked in Phoenix, Arizona for a few weeks for free and got to know that business model really well. And came home invigorated by the idea of bringing a similar model to an urban environment in Knoxville. So step one really is see who's doing what you want to do, and if you can learn from them. That's kind of a good starting point. I think people do that part too late in the game. For me, it was really valuable to do it early. And then from there, I really refined my business plan, looked at the numbers and the metrics of it, and took that plan to a lot of really successful business owners and said, poke holes in it. Like, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong?
What am I not thinking about? Right.
Exactly. And I was willing to accept criticism on that. And so from there, I then parlayed that into how to structure the debt of the business. So now I knew what the business was going to be. Next, I had to figure out how to finance it. And those same people that I asked for advice also helped me with that. And we just found a really clever way to structure our debt that kept us with all of the equity, which is something that with a small restaurant is really valuable. If you're sharing your profits with someone on a 40-seat pizzeria, like there aren't going to be a lot left over for yourself. So we then got a series of investors to invest a small amount of money in return for a return of an interest rate. And we did that. We kept our startup expenses as low as possible. We found rent in a low rent growing area. And we just had to really do it on a shoestring because it was our first venture. We had to sell our house to leverage some of the equity in the house to pay for the business. We moved in with her mom for about a year for the first year of the restaurant. And it was a great sacrifice, obviously financially, but with our time. She was teaching, which was very demanding of her and her time, and to get this opened, it was a full-time job, sun up to sundown, and then later every day of the week. The first year, it was, even though we were closed on Monday, I was here, between 8 and 9 a.m. every morning. Often wouldn't leave till after 11 at night, and when I would get home, sometimes I'd fall asleep in the driveway in my car, and it was just exhausting. And then after about 7 or 8 months, we started to breathe. We could understand the business more and what we had money to use, whether it was on labor, paying other people to do what we were doing. And then from there, we just started to gradually pull ourselves off of everything day to day, one piece at a time, right, to give ourselves the option of running the business.
When you walk in, you immediately feel the Italian thing that you have going here. The menu's in Italian, the quintessential Italian food items. You've got gelato, you've got the only Italian wine. So you guys nailed that, and I'm sure you thought through all that. So I'm curious, for a customer who comes in that may not know that, how do you overcome somebody who sits down and I can't speak a word of the menu, I just want some pizza, right? Yeah. So how have you guys overcome that in your first few years?
Hopefully with service, really training the staff well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when there are a lot of unfamiliar words on the menu, you can come across as being very pretentious, right, and kind of inaccessible. And we know that, and we're not doing that to be inaccessible or pretentious. It's just a theme of something we want to do. We really enjoy this food. We love the language. We love the culture. So like Jess said, training our staff to be able to handle those moments is very important. Specifically, not letting our guests feel unwelcome. So if a customer mispronounces a word, we don't correct them. It doesn't matter. None of that stuff matters. This is just what we're presenting as a business. So I think when people come in, they sit down, they feel the service, they eat the food, that all becomes irrelevant pretty quickly. If we didn't do those things well, yeah, we would have a massive problem. First of all, we would not have business. But secondly, we would have customers that wouldn't want to come back. So for us, it could have been really bad presenting a business in a way that might seem inaccessible. But I agree that the service really is what makes people feel okay and welcome.
And okay to ask some of those questions.
Yeah.
Like, what is this? So, but it is, it's like walking into another country in a neat way. It's like getting a little travel experience to come and experience Italian culture here in Knoxville. So now that we're talking about the business, let's talk about some of the specific elements of it, like the oven. I'm sure that doesn't look like you ordered it from Loudon, like that looks like it came from somewhere in Europe. And was that something that it's the focal point of the restaurant? I mean, did you have in your mind always what it was going to be, or?
Yeah, I think having the oven as a focal point was there from the beginning because it's beautiful. It's big, it's the sort of heartbeat of our restaurant. We always say that the dough is the king of this business, our pizza dough, and that gets cooked in the oven. So really, the oven is integral to everything that we do.
Where's it from?
Yeah, we bought the oven from a guy in Naples. His name is Stefano Ferrara. He's one of 3 really big oven makers that built an NSF-rated oven, which means they can sell it internationally without much trouble. The oven took a couple of months to get here. We had to order it Day it arrived, I'll never forget it. We had to remove all of the windows on this side of our restaurant just to get it into the space, and it was a massive undertaking that could go wrong at any step of the way, you know. And then when we got it installed, the oven actually took about a week of curing, and then we couldn't cook a pizza in it until it was fully cured. So it was kind of like
you just kept waiting, kept waiting.
Made us really anxious.
Right. So for a Italian novice, explain to our audience what Neapolitan pizza is and maybe the sourdough process and why all that's so important to making the kind of pizza you do.
Yeah, so this, there is a term called Neapolitan pizza. It's pizza from Naples. There's actually a governing body called the VPN, which is a Vera Pizza Napolitana. It just basically means real Neapolitan pizza. And you can become a VPN certified restaurant if you want to be. We're not. That's just a decision we've made. And we follow all those rules. Our tomatoes are from California. They're organically grown tomatoes made specifically for this style of pizza, so there's not a lot of water in it, and it's a low acidity. We make our own mozzarella every day, but we have a sourdough culture that we use to ferment and leaven our dough, which isn't traditional, but it's not against the rules at all.
And again, the sourdough, for those who don't know, is something that once you start it and get your base, I'm sure I'm not using the right words, your starter, you feed it, and you've kept your sourdough going for years now.
Over 4.5 years. Yeah, I had the starter from well before the restaurant.
Wow.
So this is a starter that we started in our laundry room of our last house. So yeah.
And that's what is used to make the pizzas today.
Yeah, and the sourdough culture can acclimate to the environment that it's in, to the water that gets used, to the temperature. Temperature's a really big factor.
Well, and lastly, for anybody who starts a business with their spouse or significant other, that can be great for a marriage. It can be detrimental for a marriage. And so I wanted you guys to talk about how it's been your journey the last couple of years of doing that.
I think we're still figuring it out. It's shifted over the years, and but we found that it's been really fun.
That's what Brian was saying.
Yeah, for us the lifestyle is provided for us to be on the same schedule. I was often working days, and he was often working nights before. We were fine, but we didn't realize that this is more fun to be on the same schedule. That's been fun. It's been interesting learning to teach each other different aspects of the business and to give and take, and it's not super easy, but it's been mostly fun. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot I would add to that. You know, having similar schedules for us is a lot of fun. That might not be for everyone, but we also live close to the restaurant, so we can ride our bikes to work together and ride them home. And our community is in a very small area. You know, we live downtown, our restaurant's downtown. We see a lot of the same people, and you get to know them, and you feel like you're contributing to something greater. You know, not to be real philosophical, but there's a satisfaction that comes from that. So it's not just that we are running a business together and it's good for our marriage, that the business has succeeded. We work well together, and we're open to criticism and learning. Really, I think that all helps, and it's become a good lifestyle for us.
It's good to hear. And then you think 10 years, dream big with me, A Dopo. What's kind of the plans or your hope to ever go back to Italy or things like that for the future?
For sure, go back to Italy.
And sure, 10, 20, 30 years, I think I could speak for both of us in saying that we'd love to be able to travel more, specifically Italy, but be in a position where we could spend some time abroad. It would be a dream I think a lot of people have.
Yeah, Brian think a lot about what can we do to make the business sustainable, and so hopefully we'll continue to work on that so that we'll still be open in 10 years, and who knows, but for this to be open, have a 10-year anniversary would be incredible. We'd be really grateful that people are still coming and that the product's still good. That'd be quite an achievement.
Well, thank you guys for your time, and thank you for watching. If they have not experienced A Dopo, tell them your hours or how to find you, what your website is, things like that.
Yeah.
We're open 7 days a week at 5 o'clock on 516 William Street.
Yeah. No, thank you all for having us. So we're in North Knoxville, just north of the tracks. So.